What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Tonight we have a cool little topic for you. We're talking about forgiveness and the importance of life. That's what we got on the docket for tonight, so stay tuned. As always, I'm Dallas Terrell.
And I'm Jeremy Miller.
And we are the Betterment Bros. Welcome back to the show, guys. Happy Tuesday?
Tuesday now, dude.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, we're changing all kinds of shit on you guys. It's hard for us to snap it into, but Dal, this is coming out on a Tuesday.
That means a couple things. That means, one, me and Jeremy are expressing some gratitude and some takeaways.
That's right.
And two, it means we're going to talk about a topic or have a conversation about something important.
Yep.
And three, we're going to have a good time doing it, and so are you.
Absolutely.
That's kind of how I feel.
I like that you did a rogue table of contents for the episode.
Super rogue.
Let's just paint them a roadmap, dude, and let's hit the pavement.
Hit the pavement.
With that map as our guide.
As the guide.
Yes.
Well, dude, referring back to the table of contents in our roadmap.
Yes, sir.
We're going to begin at chapter 1 called Takeaways. And you are going to carry the torch through that.
Roger that.
And I'll follow.
Okay, so 2-minute takeaways. Let's see, Dal. So much has happened in the last week. And I think what I'm going to use as my takeaway is that I work a lot.
You do.
As you and the audience know, and I've got a lot of projects always, cooking, and Mariah and I kind of discovered that we hit somewhat of a threshold, where it was like, fuck, like, man, every weekend we're doing this, we're doing that. Like, most of it for me is work.
Right.
Work that I love, no doubt, but still work. And, so on Friday, we went and saw a movie. Dude, we went and saw fucking The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie's new movie. I want to see
that movie. I'm supposed to go see that movie tonight, but I'm not going to see it, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
But I plan to.
It is.
So don't spoil it.
I'm not going to say a thing other than the fact that it is fucking awesome, dude. It's brilliant. You'll love it. So there's that. But we also, I just discovered, like, I have a threshold for, like, how much I output versus how much I take in.
Right.
And, so we, like, ended up canceling a bunch of plans and just kind of doing our thing, dude.
Perfect.
And, because we're both the type of person that we talked about in last week's episode, where we don't want to cancel, who would feel bad, but we recognized, like, dude, you know what? We need to put our feet up and just chill for a little bit and recharge. So that's exactly what we did, dude.
Boom.
And it served us really well.
I bet.
I feel energized.
Yeah. Sometimes when you need to just recharge.
Yeah, man. We just had to, kind of just pull out a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Sick takeaway.
Thanks, bro. What about you?
Yeah. No, I definitely like that takeaway. It reminds me of the cell phone thing.
Yeah.
Like, your phone's always on. They say, like, dude, turn it off sometimes. Turn it off when you're sleeping, So, and it works better. The battery lasts longer when you turn it off and it's not always on. So that's what that made me think of.
Great analogy, dude.
Yeah. So you turned your cell phone off for the week, and now it's giving you wins.
That's it, man.
Dude, fucking A.
Yeah.
So I would say my takeaway for the week is, I guess I'll kind of do two of them. This morning, I got to take my dog to get its hair cut. And so that was like an hour and a half of time. And usually I'm off of work, right? Me and my girlfriend's super busy too. And so when we have free time, we usually spend it together. But she worked, and I was able to have a lot of alone time.
Yeah.
And that isn't necessarily the win, but I guess the recharge of how I use that time, being able to get some coffee, go to the beach, smell the ocean, fresh air, walk around, see a bunch of cool people, see some people surfing. Just the recharge was kind of like you were saying, very, very much necessary, both mentally and physically. the second win is kind of why I needed the recharge. Has been going extremely hard in the gym.
Yeah.
And my takeaway is that, and my takeaway is that I PR'd like 3 barbell movements just this week.
No shit.
PR'd the front squat,
How
PR'd
much?
the back squat, and PR'd bench press.
No shit, dude.
Yeah, so the back squat was a PR for 1 rep, the front squat was a PR for 2 reps, and the bench press was PR for 3 reps.
No shit.
Yeah, so kind of like a heavy triple, a heavy double, and a heavy single. Long story short, though, my fucking knees are barking, dude.
Oh, I bet, dude.
So today, and just kind of been taking it mellow,
Yeah.
taking some joint support and letting the body recover,
That's important, dude.
But it's cool to see that the work is paying off, you know, and that's the goal. Get better.
Yeah, because you do some crazy science shit with your fitness, bro. Like, I seen it, like you shared it on Facebook with some, one of the groups we're in. And it was like, oh, dude, yeah, like you want to increase your strength. Here's like some science, And I was like, all right, Dal, I'll bite,
Yeah.
And so I go and I'm reading this shit and I'm like, bro, you are on another level of fitness than 80% of people in this world. There's so much science, dude, and charts.
So many. It's
Like-
so much
Like
to it.
charts, you know what I mean? Like fucking like graphs. And I know this is making it sound like some simple, but guys, I'm telling you, it's fucking science. Okay, so when we get our Patreon up and running, okay, we're gonna have Dal doing the science for you.
The science helps. There's a method to the madness.
Yeah, man. And you want to hit PRs like Dal, he's going to share all the science with you.
All the science, all the secrets. And
yeah.
I'll tell you, the biggest thing is just steady commitment.
That's it, man.
You keep lifting weights, you'll start lifting more.
Yep. Amen.
That's the first
first
secret. That's just a taste.
Hey, you guys, that's a taste. All right.
just a taste.
Well, Dal, that's awesome, man. Good job on your PRs, dude.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Anytime you PR,
Humble brag.
Yeah.
Humble brag. So I didn't throw the numbers because that's not what's important.
Well, and dude, honestly, like I've there's a big line between arrogance and pride. Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll do that on an episode because
That'd be a good topic. Yeah.
I think sharing about your PRs and whether it's a mental, emotional, physical, spiritual PR, quote unquote,
like that.
When you share it with other people, it becomes very real.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, a PR is a personal record.
Oh yes.
Or some people call it a PB, personal best.
Personal best. Yeah.
For those listening that maybe didn't know what that was,
Good call.
it's doing the best you've done at something
Ever.
ever.
Yep.
Yeah. Setting
Yeah.
like a new record for yourself.
Yep. Super sick.
I'm glad I cleared that up.
Me too. Yeah. Because dude, someone could be sitting there like,
What the hell is a PR?
Is that like public
You
related?
mean
Like
PBR?
Dal was doing good.
Paps Blue Ribbon?
Talking about Paps right now.
14 PBRs this week for
Yeah.
Dal.
Whoa, dude. All right. So, okay, good takeaways. Now, I want to just kind of, Dal, I know this might not fit the table of contents or it might fit just right.
It probably will.
But you guys, I want to let you in on something. We're recording this on Sunday, January 26th.
Oh, yeah.
Which is,
we got to talk about this.
Yeah. So, Kobe Bryant passed away
Yeah, he
today.
did.
And with his daughter in a helicopter crash, right? And, we came into tonight's episode wanting to talk about forgiveness. And I think it's pretty perfect because, I'm not a big sports guy, but, I understand the magnitude of Kobe Bryant. I mean,
It's like Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
It's almost synonymous.
it's hard not to know the clout, the impact on the people that love this guy. And it really had me thinking, because he, I was reading all his stuff and apparently flies by helicopter all the time. Like he's known for it, like he'd show up to practice, getting dropped off by the helicopter.
Yeah.
And so today was like any other, man.
Yeah, he's just going to, basketball practice with his daughter?
They were doing like a
training thing or
a training thing or
Yeah.
something like that. And, and that was it.
Just everyday life, basically, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it was everyday life, and then it's over, right? And so, for me, I put myself there to really understand it because I think about this shit all the time. About like if I died or what if I, whatever. And so I put myself in the helicopter, right? And you're thinking like, wow, this is it. And your daughter's next to you, you know? And I just thought about it. I don't know why I did, but I really put myself in it of like, you know, you're spinning, you're falling, and you know this is it, you know? And then that's it. And then that's it, right? And, you know, the reason I thought of that in such detail, I think, is because, you know, for so long, like especially in our addictions, you know, God, dude, we flirted the line, man.
Right, 100%.
You know, like we were fucking right there. And, you know, you never think it'll be you. You know, you never think it'll be your buddy. And, you know, and so it makes me think like, man, like all those years I held on to shit. I was so angry about so much, you know, at so many people for the things they'd done. And, you know, and what if that was it? And that's what I take with me to the next chapter.
Yeah.
You
kind
know,
of passing away grumpy and angry and hurt. And resentful and rigid.
Yeah. You know, and so it just got me going. And I think it was really ironic that, you know, this happened this morning when we had planned to talk about forgiveness, you know?
Yeah, it was kind of already the guide for tonight. And, you know, something like that happens. And, you know, I'm glad you acknowledged it for sure. Because, I mean, as you were saying, everyone knows Kobe Bryant. You can't not really know who he is. And, you know, when you're almost at that level of fame, it's bizarre to think about him being gone, or you think about him as like a superhero or like, you know, Batman, right? People call him Black Mamba, and they look at him like a superhero.
Yep.
So for someone like that, like an icon or a legend, to pass and be gone it's difficult for a lot of people to deal with, you know.
Yeah.
But I think the big takeaway is he's a human being just like we are, just trying to get through life.
Yeah.
He is not invincible, as are we.
Right.
You know, so condolences obviously to his family and, you know, everyone affected, the Lakers organization, the city of Los Angeles, everyone, dude.
All the families, dude, the kids.
Yeah, it's a total bummer, but, you know, he did a lot of good.
He did. And, you know, and we talk about that often on the show.
We do.
You know, we talked about that last week with Alan. And, you know, I think like for me, in my experience, where forgiveness comes up a lot, you know, in the work that we do with people, and it, you know, it's something that I struggled with for a long time. You know, I used to be the guy that would hold a grudge.
Yep.
You know, and then I really like, I don't know, I hit this point in my life, maybe like a year or two ago, and where I got to was kind of like, you know, what's the point? You know, now this is where the conversation gets really sticky, because, you know, there are people, like especially in our work, right, where, you know, they've experienced heavy trauma, right, and we're trying to talk about forgiveness, right, and they're like, how could I ever forgive that person for what they did, right?
Hard conversation to have.
It's very tough, you know. And I gotta say, you know, in my work with TJ Woodward, right, in conscious recovery, I think he nails it best, right? And the thing with forgiveness is that a lot of times, in my experience, in our experience, you know, we see that forgiveness is synonymous with it being okay, right? Like if I say, you know, I forgive you for doing that, like somehow that me doing that makes what they did less bad.
It's like permission almost.
Yeah. Right? It's like an allowance. You know, it's like when someone's like, oh, dude, sorry, I'm late. Oh, it's okay. Right? It's not really okay. It might not be okay, but that's kind of the knee-jerk reaction. And so with forgiveness, we want to be clear, like, you know, it doesn't make what a person did right or wrong, right? But really it's a perspective of making peace with the past.
Right.
You know, and I think that really gets into a lot about like victim consciousness, right? They did that to me, therefore they have the power. If I forgive them, I surrender what power I have left. And, you know, in our work with people who have experienced trauma, we try and shift them out of that perspective and out of that state of mind and into a state of mind of, it doesn't make it any less wrong. It doesn't make it okay by any means. But you are a powerful being. You control the future. You do not control the past, right? But how you present in the world, how you handle life is in your control. And if you walk around, without having made peace with what's happened, it's really hard to not create a future based on that. You know what I mean?
That.
And so when I think about Kobe, when I think about how fragile and delicate life is, it's kind of like, you know what, man? Like, I've forgiven people who have done horrible things. I've done horrible things that I've been forgiven for. Some things I haven't,
Right, yeah.
But I know, like, if I clocked out tonight, I don't want to carry any of that through, And when I think about my energy and the way I am in the world and how I am with people, it's like, I don't know if there's enough time to really like hold on to stuff like that,
Yeah, I don't think there is. And I don't really think there's an answer. That's kind of rhetorical. It's like, you think about that question and see how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Is there enough time to hold on to something big or small?
Mm-hmm.
I know that holding on to it oftentimes is unsavory, or holding on to resentment, anger, hostility. I know that it doesn't serve very productively or serve well. And I think that is like, that's like the premise. Like, that's what's important, is getting to a place where you understand what happens. You understand that something happened, or you have the right to be angry or upset, and that's okay. But you should also be aware of how it is or isn't serving you moving forward.
Exactly.
I think that's kind of the point that we all try to get to, and some of us do and some of us don't.
Right.
So that's kind of begs the question of like, where are you at with that?
Right.
We all have someone that I'll never forgive them for that, or, and I think some of the best examples are, you'll see those videos floating up on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook where you see like people giving speeches after like a murder trial, or after like a press conference, like, this person killed my son and I just want them to know that I forgive them, and so does Jesus, or something like that. And my wish for you is that you can forgive yourself so that the suffering isn't perpetuated. And those are kind of, to me, like the big shining examples of people can forgive the most wrongest, and that sounds insane.
Harmful.
I need to forgive myself for saying that. I have. Good.
Me too.
The most harmful things can be forgiven, so it just a challenge to everybody else, Yeah. What are you holding on to? What are you resentful of? What's still ringing for you,
So I've known people who keep journals of other people who have wronged them.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I remember thinking like, wow, that is not how I would operate. Right. And
like what do they call that when you have like a kill list?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like people I plan on killing type of thing.
Like it was like that kind of a list,
Wow.
And I just remember trying to understand like where are you at that serves you,
Pain and hurt.
Pain, dude. Pain. And so I think like the important thing is that we're not passing judgment on you or anyone listening for having resentments. It's part of our lives. It's part of being a human being, is that we are hurt and we resent the people that hurt us, right? I think the important piece of the conversation is to allow some space in your own conversation with that pain of just curiosity. How does this actually serve me? How is this productive in my life, And whatever the answer is, I would suggest gently finding another means to get there, So if it somehow brings you pleasure knowing that, just remembering over and over why they hurt you, as if maybe like that takes away some of the pain or the sting of it. What if you ran towards that pain instead? What if instead of keeping a list of all the times you were hurt so that you don't allow that person in to your life in a positive way, right? Like that's what so many people say. It's like, you know, I don't want her coming to the dinner. She fucking said this about my husband. I don't want to be around her because there's potential threat for more pain, more harm.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. And so I think like if that's the solution of keeping this journal or this list, you know, maybe there's a different way to get to that.
That's a good point.
And without, you know, giving blanket advice on it is such a challenge, you know.
Yeah.
But I think like in my own experience, what I got to was, you know, how can I view it as a gift? You know, like I've been wronged a lot, you know, and whether or not they agree that they wronged me, I felt wronged.
Right. And that's kind of what matters.
Right. And so my reframe of that, especially in recent years, has been like, how can I view this as a gift? What about this is actually giving me power? You know, what about this situation that hurt me so bad can I use productively? And what ended up happening is my energy was cleaner all for it. You know, it was a matter of saying, you know, there's one situation in particular where I felt really wronged and I was so fucking mad, you know, and I got over it an hour later. And the way I got there was simply asking like, okay, does me being angry actually get me closer to feeling better? You know, no, it doesn't. Okay, cool. Well, how does the anger serve me? Well, it's protecting me right now. Okay, how else can I feel protected? Well, who wronged me? There is a bit of a power dynamic there. So I'm going to create my own power in another way. And by doing that, I automatically shield myself because they can't perpetually hurt me because guess what, man? I'm working on something on the side.
Right. I like that.
And so I think like a big piece of this and the way it ties with Kobe too is like, man, I mean, I don't have time to fucking be mad all the time. You know, I just don't have it. I struggle enough already with trying to keep up with everybody I love and try and make sure I'm showing them enough love and, you know, staying in touch with people. Like I have a hard enough time with all that as is. I don't need to cloud an already cloudy space.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I think my question to you, Jerem, is, so I know with my own experience of meditation and with other people's experience with meditation, they often do like a forgiveness practice, a forgiveness meditation. I've done countless ones myself. So why do you think people continue to do that? I guess why do you think forgiveness is like a practice or like a reoccurring theme rather than just like, I forgive them?
Right. Well, I think it's a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're very delicate creatures.
Right.
Human beings are, we have a tender sensibility, man.
True.
And the reality is that we are going to get hurt throughout the course of our lives. You know, you can't avoid it. And, you know, like, fuck, man. I mean, I'm a sensitive dude, you know, and like, dude, I get my feelings hurt and stuff. And I think, you know, the reason it's such a continual practice is because, you know, it's just like meaning in your life or creating value or, you know, the other, you know, principles we talk about on the show is that we veer into our own narrative, our self-defeating thoughts and habits all the time, right? Because our minds are very fragile things, but they're also computers, you know, they record and remember even when we don't want them to. And that's sometimes when we need them to the most, you know?
Yeah.
And we're very flawed, you know? And so I think for me, it's a practice because my instinct, my initial reaction to something is I'm hurt, fuck you. You know, I'm going to hurt you back, right? Because somehow that brings me peace. And so now with meditation, with the practice of embodying forgiveness, embodying gratitude, it's an acknowledgement to myself that I don't need to create pain to heal my own, right? And, you know, forgiveness is the method through which you don't create pain for yourself, right? So if I try and shift away from I need to create pain in you to feel peace with myself, forgiveness is the method of creating peace with yourself, right? Of not creating pain internally, because, you know, when you relive an experience that caused you pain over and over, all it does is perpetuate the pain, right? You're throwing gasoline on a fire, you know? And so to me, it's the practice of being able to say that hurt back then, you know, that hurt, and that's okay. What did I get from it? What did I learn from it? How did it serve me? How did the pain serve me? There's always an answer, and it's always the exact right answer, you know, but we veer away from that always.
It's hard to look.
Yeah.
And then you kind of miss out on the wisdom of what was there.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious on your thoughts about that, because shit, man. I know with working with clients, kind of the situation you posed earlier, where a lot of clients that we've worked with or are working with or whatever it may be, a common conversation is, this person wronged me, I can never forgive them.
Right.
And the situation is usually pretty valid or like outlandish, you know, rape, sexual abuse, like pretty heavy topics.
Yeah.
Where it's hard to just be like, thought about forgiving them.
Right.
Like, you would sound foolish to say that.
Of course.
You know, so that's kind of where it gets me going as far as these conversations, and I try to dissect it and, you know, think about what is helpful for them. Obviously, creating space to process the situation.
Yeah.
I think that's first and foremost, you know, and TJ says it best, right? Where when someone is talking to you about a traumatic experience that would be hard to forgive, it's better to be present for them to talk about it,
Yeah.
than to think about how to help them solve it.
Right.
Well, that's not always the case,
No.
you know?
Right.
But I also do know that sometimes I'm the first person to suggest forgiveness to this person.
Right.
Right. Usually a lot of people jump on the bandwagon of like, yeah, fuck that person, and you should be mad, and this and that and the third. So I have 100% been the first person to suggest, what could you do to forgive this person?
Right.
Right. How would it look if you forgave them?
Right.
What would it feel like to not be so angry about this?
Yes.
How would you go about doing that?
And those are the heavy hitting questions.
Right.
Right.
That's just kind of what it made me think of, like dissecting it a little bit and thinking like, what has been effective, you know, and in counseling, in my own life and experience. And I think that's what's most effective, is creating the space to talk about it and asking them, because they'll know.
Yep.
They'll know how mad they are, or how
Right.
resentful, or how ineffective it is. They know the true wisdom of what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
I love the question, what would it be like if? Because, you know, like you said, dude, we're not trying to tell you like, oh, you got sexually assaulted, just forgive the dude or forgive the girl, you know. But what we are saying is that there is a lot of power in forgiveness, right? And this is also, just for the record, something you should work on with a professional if it's like that, you know.
That's a
But
good
I
point,
think
Jerem.
I think I love the question of what would it be like, because it invites them to explore it on their own, right? So a lot of times, you know, especially with trauma or a traumatic experience, which can literally be anything, right? A lot of times, you know, when, you know, especially in counseling and therapy, it's like, how can I fix you? How can I fix
Exactly,
that? Right?
yeah.
And I personally hate that perspective.
Me too.
Because it implies that something's broken, right? And I want to just tell you right now, no matter who you are, and no matter what you've experienced in your life, you are not broken. You are a whole person. You're perfect, right? It's just life layers its bullshit on top of us, and then we respond to the world because of it, you know? And so when we take the perspective of you're not broken, right? You've lived through some very unpleasant experiences, but you're not fucking broken, right? That enables people, that empowers people. And so with the forgiveness conversation, all we're inviting is a way for you to look inward and say, what would it be like if you had all the cards? What would it be like if you had all the power, right? It's like, man, there's people in my family that I haven't talked for 15 years,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, why? You know, like, and most of the time with that kind of shit with family, it's money, you know? And it's like
stupid little things.
yeah, and it's like, bro, like I don't know if it's because you and I have come so close to death so many times in our addiction that I think this way or what, but I just don't have the time to allow something like money to fucking put a stop on me having and sharing a loving relationship with somebody, right? Like I've been fucked over, dude, and I've fucked people over. No doubt, man. I'm no angel.
Ditto for the record.
But it's like, and with that, I acknowledge that, you know, like the people that have wronged me, they, for whatever reason, felt that in that moment, that was the appropriate path to take, you know? And, you know, people that are out there like committing horrible crimes and stuff, I'm not saying we got to get soft on people and forgive everybody for everything they've done. What I am saying, I think what we're both saying is that in order to really heal and create a future and a present that is free of perpetuated suffering, that we have to acknowledge pain, acknowledge that it happened, right? But also at the same time, look at what would it be like if I just made peace with that? What would it be like if that one horrible thing that happened didn't dictate the moves I make in my life anymore?
Yeah.
What would it be like if I really looked at that and felt through it and came out the other side and said, you know what? That shit happened, but I'm moving forward and I'm going to go crush it. And it will always be a part of me, and there will always be an element of pain. But that doesn't mean that I have to live a life full of pain. You know, and with the example I gave with the fucking hate journal or whatever you'd call it.
Shit list.
I'm the biggest emotion that I felt was sadness.
Right.
I'm like, dude, we don't have time for that, man. Like, we all fucking die. All of us. We are all going to die. Right. And the chances are high that it's not going to happen when we want it to.
It's going to be inconvenient.
Yeah. Right. So
fucking A.
To me, it's like, man, let's spend our time looking at ways through which we can cultivate love and meaning and acknowledge the things that have happened, but not let them fucking, you know, we're not in the passenger seat of this car, dude. You know, and I feel like when I hold grudges and shit like that, and I, you know, someone pissed me off or they hurt me really bad, and I'd see them at a party, right? And I have to like be in the room with them. I'm like, man, fuck this person. It's totally ruining my experience. Says who? Says me, right?
Yeah.
What would it be like if I just walked up to that person and said, dude, you fucking hurt me. That shit you did hurt, you know? And I wanted you to know that. And I forgive you for that, right? Even if they say, fuck you and you're a piece of shit and da-da-da. Imagine the feeling you get knowing that you walked up to this person that harmed you and said, I forgive you, right?
It's a good feeling.
It's like those videos you mentioned, you know?
Yeah.
In their pain, they knew that the only way they could actually heal is by saying, I forgive the person who killed my son.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how the healing works.
It does, dude.
They work together.
And it's it can be grim, dude.
Right. And that also answers the same question of why it's such a journey or a destination, because it is healing.
Right.
Right. We're not healed. It's like this perpetual journey of healing from the stuff that keeps happening.
Right.
Because like you said, it'll always happening.
Always.
It'll always happen. We'll always be hurt and suffer, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it may be.
Right.
Yeah, I think my, you know, kind of the only other thoughts that I kind of had on that topic is like at what point, like at what role do we as people play in it? You know, like where does our ego get involved? Where does, you know, this mantra of like, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy come into play? You know, kind of those things that I work with a lot personally in myself is, am I physically hurt or is my ego hurt? You know, why am I suffering? Did I actually get hurt or was my ego hurt? Is this reality, this false sense of who I am get hurt? You know, and oftentimes there's a lot of wisdom there too.
Sure.
In seeing where we created ourselves sometimes, you know, we create these resentments or grudges or, you know, we confuse like our ego with real pain, you know? And I'm not saying always, but I think being wise enough to look or have a space where you can kind of identify what's true and real. You know, if someone insults you, you know, what happens? Like, they hurt your ego. You know, no one talks to me like that. No one disrespects me. And I think the best example, and I have this conversation all the time with clients that come from prison or county jail, and, you know, in county jail or prison, a lot of words they don't say, or they have these rules, right? Where you can't call someone a bitch, a punk, a lame, right? So if you say those words to people, you're immediately fighting because it's the ultimate disrespect. And when I have these conversations with these people, I'm like, says who? Like, who made these rules?
Right.
Why do you follow them? You know, I think about county jail or prison, right? It's a big room of all the biggest dumbasses in the world. And they're like, these are our rules. Someone calls you a bitch, you punch him in the face because that's disrespectful, dog. And like, people want to be safe and comforted and feel part of, so they fucking like, all right, cool. Next person that calls me a bitch or a lame or a this or a that, I'm punching them in the face.
Right.
So to kind of unlearn that, or to have a conversation about that, it's just like this egotistical thing, right?
100%.
Where if someone wants to call me a bitch, I get to choose what I do or don't do with that.
Yep.
And like you said, we're going to choose to be happy than right. Am I a bitch? No. Do I need to prove it to somebody? Most of the time, no.
Right.
And so that's kind of what it made me think of, is, you know, like these silly resentments, or these agreements we made a long time ago that are true for us, right? And I always see it in clients that come from county jail or prison and live that street life. I don't snitch. Don't call me a punk. Don't call me a bitch. And it's so rigid. But it's also very ignorant and unproductive, you know?
Absolutely.
I don't know if you can relate to that or have the experience with that, but
big time. And actually, I think, you know, I'll give the other side to that coin, right? And, you know, this isn't me. I'm not trying to stereotype or be sexist, all right, you guys? I know that most of our audience is actually women, okay? So I'm gonna try not to, you know, be overtly fucking rude here. But
good luck.
Thank you. 2020.
Drum roll.
I'm really flirting with it here, guys. You know? No, but I think, you know, when I did one-on-one counseling up there, right? You know, I'd get a lot of like the middle-aged women, right? And, you know, both men and women can be catty as fuck, dude. But like, what
especially
I noticed,
in treatment.
Oh God.
There's nothing else going on except looking at yourself.
Right.
They're going to look at everyone else first.
Harshly.
Very harshly.
But I think like, if you look at Mean Girls, for example, right? Like the movie Mean Girls, remember that movie? You know, or like the videos, like the Real Housewives of whatever the fuck, you know? And, you know, Susan said that my husband, Bryant, earns a dirty living, so I'm never talking to her again because she disrespected our family. You know, when I look at like people fighting like that, whether it's men or women, okay, you know, I see the YouTube videos or I see it like in treatment, you know, like, oh, she fucking used my hair. Oh, I'm not, you know, and it's just like, what I see is a very low level of livingness. Right? What I see is a very underdeveloped emotional room, right, in that person, because, you know, not that they're broken, right, but like I just so desperately want to offer the other side. What would it be like if that didn't, these little insults, like you said, in the prison yard, right? Like, what would it look like if being called a bitch didn't matter, right? Like, and so I think, like, for me in closing, and I know this is going to sound cliche, but love is really good armor. I feel that it may be the most resilient armor.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because if I go through the world trying to shield myself from pain, trying to shield myself from all the things that people could say to me that would hurt, right? If I use as my defense mechanism anger, for example,
or hate,
where I navigate my life from a perspective of, if you say that, if you wrong me, if you offend me, I'm putting you in my journal. I'm putting you on the list. I'm cutting you out of my life. That armor does not hold up because you will always get hurt.
Yeah.
And it's usually from the people that you love the most.
Yep.
Right. But if you put up a layer of armor that's made of love and kindness, right? And someone calls me a bitch, and rather than go, what? Fuck you, I ain't no bitch, right? I consider, why does that person feel the need to call me a bitch right now? Right? When I think about someone in my recent memory who fucking said some hurtful shit to me, right? And, you know, like, hurtful, dude.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you remember.
I know.
You read, dude. You read the text.
Yeah.
Right? My immediate response was, damn, dude, that hurts. Right? But that lasted for 30 seconds. What followed was, I know exactly why you said those things to me, and I understand your pain. And in that window where I got curious about why they said what they said, I discovered a lot. I discovered that that person is fucking hurt, and I was part of that pain.
Yeah.
Right? So why would I respond then? Why would my armor be made up of anger? What's that going to do? Perpetuate the suffering. Right? But if I put up a shield of love and use that love as a filter through which her painful words go, right? When they land on me, what do I see? I see someone on the other side of my shield that's in fucking pain. And then I can do something about it. I can do something meaningful. I could say like, hey, I know why you said those things, and I forgive you because I know you were in pain. And I know it was a part of that pain, and I'm sorry. Then if they give me the finger, they say, fuck you, I never want to talk to you, whatever. That's all good because I know that I made peace with that, and I can move forward.
I think they call that a big boy response.
That's how the big boys respond.
Dude, I think a great one-liner I heard that just paints that same message is my first sponsor in AA would always challenge me, and he'd say it in every meeting. It was also funny. No, it's not funny at all. But he had, what's funny is when I hear this saying, I hear it in his voice. In his voice, he had a tracheotomy, I think it's called, right? When you talk like this. He didn't have the box that you talk into from smoking, but it sounded like he had the box, which is very strange.
Yeah.
So he always talked like this, right? His name was Donnie. And he would always challenge me, but everybody, to live a love-based life rather than a fear-based life. And I'm always like, God, he's always saying that shit. Like, what the fuck does that mean? You know?
Yeah.
I was 19, dude.
Right.
You know, he's telling me to live a love-based life. And I was like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. But now, looking back at it, and it comes up a lot where it's like, how can I live my life in a loving manner at all times? And what does that even really mean?
Right.
You know? Because I know it took me some time to figure that out.
Big time.
So that's the challenge.
We're still
the
figuring
audience.
it out.
Of course.
You know, like I'm so far from that. I think the difference is the effort.
Right.
You know, so if you right now sitting in your car or sitting at home with your earbuds in or whatever, right? And there's people in your life that you've toyed with the idea of forgiving. I think the real takeaway here is not to forgive them or not, right? We're not going to blanketly advise you to forgive.
Right, not at all.
Whatever, because we don't know what's going on, right? I think that the most important thing is to live in curiosity. What would it be like to forgive them?
And love.
What would it be like to try and focus on love? Love is the most productive energy we have. It is the only reason our species has continued this long, right? Is because we find somebody we love, we court them a little bit, we do the deed, and we have kids.
We do the deed.
You know? And I think that sometimes getting so fundamental like that is really important.
It's simple.
It's
That's why.
simple, right? So I think, you know, in the topic of forgiveness, especially with Kobe and everything like that, it's like, man, you know what? I don't know, man. For me, in my experience, you know, on a very personal level, I just I feel like, man, I just don't have time because what if, you know, like Kobe rode around that helicopter all the time. I'm driving around all the time. What if fucking tomorrow on my way to work, dude, I get in a crash and that's it?
You would go down as the last thing you said to everybody is try to live a love-based life.
Not bad.
Not too shabby.
right?
Not that you did it for that.
Right.
But
But that's where I'd be at.
that's where you'd be at, dude.
You know, I don't want to have a hate journal. I want to have a fucking love journal, dude.
Yeah. Don't let your girlfriend see it.
Yeah. That's my contacts list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about no little black book either, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fuck. That one got away from me there at the end.
They get the point, though.
Yeah,
They
you
get
know what
the
I'm saying.
point.
You know what I'm saying.
If you love someone, tell them.
Yeah. Tell them.
Call your parents. Tell them you love them.
Fucking A, man.
Jeez.
Yeah, something like that. It just helps put things into perspective, you know?
And we need that, dude. And
Yeah.
it's sad, but that's kind of the silver lining. The takeaway is that you're still here, and what are you going to do about it?
There it is. There it is. So R.I.P. Kobe.
Yeah.
Our deepest condolences to everybody involved in the helicopter, all the families, all the kids. I don't know their names, but, you know, I'm saying some novenas for them. You know what I mean?
Send them up. I've sent out a couple as well. And
Good.
we don't have time to be so pissed off.
No, man. And
If
that
you need
being
help with that, let us know.
I was just going to say that.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You want to say it? We'll both say it at the same time.
If you
want help with that, let us know.
That's pretty good.
Not bad.
No, but as always, guys, if you hear this and you're like, fuck, man, I don't want to forgive my ex-boyfriend. He's a piece of shit. Email us at bettermentbros@gmail.com, and we'll get the whole story. We're not going to tell you how to feel or even what to do, but we'll help you explore the questions in hopes to get you closer to an answer that feels right for you.
Sold me on it.
Also, visit us on the web. We're at www.betterment-bros.com. We've got some exciting stuff in the works that I'm not going to tell you about at this time, but one of those things might be Patreon.
Ooh,
Yep.
whoop.
So we'll let you know when we get that all fired up. If you want more content from the bros, that's going to be the avenue by which you get it. Dal, you got any other final thoughts, man, other than the plugs?
No, I mean, those are my final thoughts, dude. Yeah, just encouraging the crowd, the audience, the fans, our friends, our families. Reach out if you need anything. We're always here for you guys. Don't forget that.
That's right.
The people that ask for help are the ones that get it.
Boom. So get out there, guys. Live a love-based life. I'm Jeremy Miller.
I'm Dallas Terrell.
Take it easy.